Doug, let me start there with the poll question. Ben Simmons, great, good, or average?
What do you consider great?
Well, what do you consider great now with an NBA player?
All-star.
Okay.
I mean,
like a perennial all-star.
I guess perennial is every year. Yeah, I think he'll be great. Okay. I think there's no reason to believe he will not.
Any questions aside from his shot?
Yeah, I mean, percentage of times he plays hard. Will his teammates like him? Will his teammates like him? Will he be admired for his skills, or will he be judged differently? So I think those are the couple of things. I mean, there is an air of confidence that if you don't know him, or if there's something you could say aloofness to it. I would say the more I've gotten in there, and I can't tell you that like we're boys, or whatever, but I'm very friendly with his godfather, and I've watched him and how he handles himself. I do think it's confidence, but I also think he doesn't get down. He's not emotionally to where he gets down. He also doesn't get up that high either. So I think if you don't know him, he's a different cat. He's not flamboyant in how he celebrates, and but I think it is the jump shot, but it's also, will he play hard and work hard at every moment? Is he indefatigable in that in his preparation? And then can he get along with people? I mean, there's a lot thrust upon a guy, and you're in a city that doesn't hold back when they don't like how you perform.
Can you teach somebody a shot when they get to the NBA?
Yeah. I mean, guys become shooters. I mean, even guys who never shot jump shots. Well, look at the Atlanta Hawks and their big guys who become three-point shooters. His shot is not Michael Kidd-Gilchrist, dude. It's not broke. It's not all bent up. I honestly think he's one of those guys that's just too smart for his own good. Where he would say, like, why take a good shot when I can take a great shot? And the problem becomes he just needs to make a couple of perimeter shots, kind of like a LeBron, make a couple of perimeter shots, make them have to guard you, and then everything else, that vast array of skills takes over. But if he can develop a consistent jump shot, and he doesn't even have to be a consistent three-point shooter, but a consistent jump shot, he becomes virtually unguardable, Dan, because he's 6'10", and in this day and age of the NBA, he's not just point guard or power forward, he can play center. And, he's a much better all-around player, even heading into the draft with only 1 year of college experience under his belt than Draymond Green was, for example. Now, I don't think Draymond Green is his floor. I'm just telling you, if used in that way, in where he plays a multitude of positions, and then he can develop a jump shot, especially a three-point shot, I mean, he becomes almost unguardable. He has that many other skills.
You got issues with Brandon Ingram going to the Lakers at 2?
I don't have any issues.
Concerns?
I'm a little concerned about, can he move laterally? Everybody just says, well, he'll add weight. And I think most of us, he's 18 years old. So anybody who went to college at some point, put on our man muscles, if you will, and gains college weight. So I think that'll happen. Remember, he's 20 pounds lighter, a year younger, but 20 pounds lighter than Durant was at this point in time, and an inch smaller. He keeps growing, so maybe he'll grow and be as tall as Durant. But we all think we know how that weight will be proportioned and that it will translate into explosive weight. And I would think that it will, but it's hard to develop while you're playing. It's hard to develop athleticism while you're playing in the NBA. And when you're the number 2 pick in LA with the Lakers, with all these young guys, I don't know if laterally he'll have the ability to be the perimeter player offensively and defensively that his skill set tells you he can be. But, look, he can shoot, he can pass, he's a smart kid. He has no off-the-court issues at all. So I think his floor is pretty high. The one thing I would say is it wouldn't be crazy if Boston wanted to move up. It wouldn't be crazy to look at Dunn there. And I know they drafted a point guard, but D'Angelo, we don't know. I don't think he is an NBA point guard. I think he's a good player who can play on and off the basketball. It's not crazy to go like, hey, you know what? I know Chris Dunn's a starting point guard. He plays both ends. He makes people better. He's got a pro body. He, too, has to work on his jump shot, but he can score some in the post. Like, what if we just went and had a sick backcourt, and that way, if Dunn's the starting point, D'Angelo is either the combo, like what Golden State's doing, or he becomes a tradable asset. I don't think they'll do it, but I mean, look, if I'm LA, I'm kind of starting from scratch here, and it's an idea that has crossed my mind.
Doug Gottlieb from CBS Sports, college basketball analyst, joining us on the program. Derrick Rose going to the Knicks means what?
I think it's acquiring somebody else's lease. I don't know. Dan, you get your Dodge Ram, right, for free, so I don't think that this applies to you. But there's all different ways to buy a car, right? One thing you can do is you can acquire somebody else's lease. They got 12 months left. They get transferred to New York. They don't need a car. So you don't pay the down payment. You just have to pay the monthly payment until it runs out. That's what the Knicks are doing here. They got a year, and they're going to fill up the gym, and they're going to throw Rose out there and Carmelo out there and Porzingis out there. And you know what? If it doesn't work, if Derrick Rose can't stay healthy, fine. They turn it into the dealer, and next year they got all this cap space. I think considering what else was available at point guard and how you would have had to lock into a long-term deal for guys that at their best are still probably not Derrick Rose, I think it's a really good play for the Knicks. I really do. I mean, they're demonstrably better at the point. They're much more interesting. They're absolutely a playoff team. And what's the downside? It doesn't work. And next year you got a bunch of cap space.
Yeah, I understand that it's 1 year. I don't think he's a good point guard. He doesn't play defense anymore. His jumper has always been suspect. Can he get to the hoop? Can he stay healthy? But you're rolling the dice for 1 year, and I like a guy on the last year of his contract. But to say it's an upgrade is really it's a slight against the front office that had the audacity to put Jose Calderon as your starting guard. Anybody is going to be an upgrade for him. So I don't look at it as, hey, we got an upgrade over Jose Calderon.
Well, they also, I remember they were running triangle, and Jose Calderon in his prime, peak Jose Calderon, was like an 11 or 12 and 8 or 9 guy, right? That's a really good triangle point guard because you can play off the basketball. You don't need it. The problem is Calderon is a shell of his former very average self.
He's a shell of his former shell.
Yeah. Look, I mean, who am I to take shots at a guy that was a 12 and 9 guy? But that's kind of our deal.
But are they running a triangle, Doug, with Jeff Hornacek, with Derrick Rose? Are they going to run a triangle offense still?
No. I will tell. I have guys that have worked out for the Knicks, and they said a good portion of what they did was within. I think they'll run some triangle. I think they run a lot of pick and roll. Remember, Hornacek did a really good job with Bledsoe.
Great job.
Before Bledsoe had the knees. And so I think he'll incorporate a lot of screen roll the way the Jazz used to and some of the new age stuff. They're better. They're better than they were. They're more interesting than they were. And the NBA is a better place when the Knicks are interesting. I think we can agree on that.
All right, before I let you go, Buddy Hield stays 4 years and feels like it's being held against him, almost as if teams look at him and say, that's as good as he's going to get, but is that good enough? What do you think of Buddy Hield?
In the NBA, they call it gravity, right? Where it's like where Kevin Love, what was it, in Game 6? Everybody said, well, he didn't play well in Game 6. Yeah, but the Warriors guarded him all the way out to the three-point line. Probably too much so for my taste. They make him make jump shots. But if you have gravity, you open up space for others. So he has that automatically. He walks in the gym, he commands respect as a jump shoot. He's not a particularly good ball handler. He doesn't have good ball handling feel. He can be a turnover machine when he's trying to create off the bounce. And I think that's really what people are maybe holding against him more so than he was there 4 years, because he got incrementally better every single season and exploded this year, and his percentages are great. I think he's a very good shooter. I think he has a ton of value. I don't think he'll ever be the best player on a team, probably not the second best player on a team. But because of his personality, which is off the charts great, because he can shoot, if he can translate that to a little bit deeper shot against better competition with fewer attempts, I think he'll be a really valuable, J.J. Redick type in the league. The only question in terms of that J.J. role is he didn't shoot off the screen as much in college, which is different than setting your feet and just firing over dudes or one dribble and shoot. But I like Buddy Hield a lot. I don't think he's not Steph Curry because he can't dribble or pass the way Steph Curry can, but he brings a ton of value because if you can bring space to an NBA floor, for example, when you have a guy like a Ben Simmons or a LeBron or other guys or Derrick Rose or John Wall that aren't great shooters but are freak athletes, you have a ton of value even if you never actually touch the basketball in a possession.
Doug, we appreciate the time. Thanks for joining us. We'll talk soon.
Dude, the draft is not the same without you and David Stern going back and forth.
Doug, I was a one and done with the draft with the commissioner.
And I also want to point out, I got a personal hoop court going now, about 15 minutes from Milford. So you beat me in your gym with your low ceiling. We have no ceiling here, little outdoor court. You want to come get some after work someday, you let me know.
Doug, I've never had a ceiling to my game, just so you know. Thank you, Doug. All right, that's Doug Gottlieb.
The Dan Patrick Show, weekday mornings on Audience.